The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, this is Jessie. No, you are not hearing things, are they, Jen?
Nope, you're not. We've got Jess tonight because Rick is sick, so we've got a little Double J takeover.
Yes, Jessie and Jen take over the Jenn and Rick show. Woohoo! All right, first, before we get started, and I know there's a ton of stuff to talk about, Jen.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I've got to do my shout out for Scott Harvath. 2017 is your year. First, you got to get over the flu. Then you're going to kick cancer to the curb. I know it's your year, Scott.
We are definitely thinking about you and praying for you and your family.
All right. Now, on with the news, because there's been so many things. First of all, anybody who's looked at a calendar lately knows we have how many days left, Jen?
8 days left of the Obama administration.
And then...
It is over.
Oh, thank goodness.
I can't wait either. I am so looking forward to it. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't always stick with the politics of things. I can usually tell you just as much about the politics of Turkey as I can the politics of the U.S. But what this man has done to our national security and national defense is enough to make me insane.
Well, it's actually more of what he hasn't done, right? I mean, He hasn't taken initiative on things. He hasn't taken a stand. He's, abstained from positions that, needed addressing. That has been worse and more damaging to our relations with other countries, with the positions we put our military in, or lack of positions we put ourselves in that could have maybe, helped some situations and helped some relationships. And we've chosen to, for instance, stand some sort of middle wishy-washy ground when it comes to Israel, thereby more endangering the Middle East. So, this has been an administration of inaction in a lot of ways, and then doing things like giving, tons of uranium to Iran and money and letting them have a nuclear, what we're calling an Iran deal.
You may not have heard this, but since the Iran nuclear deal that was supposed to limit what Iran could do with nuclear, they have already imported 220 tons of natural uranium, and they're scheduled to import another 130 tons of natural uranium.
Yeah,
excuse me.
Insane to think.
Did we just give? Am I crazy, Jen, or did we give the fox the keys to the hen house? And I will shut up and let you talk now.
No, we pretty much did, and this has been something. And I will say something I've thought for a very long time. I think in a lot of ways that there are people that go, this man is evil, and he's got this or he's that, or whatever, and people can get really eat up by all of that stuff, and I don't blame them. It's easy to kind of do that. I, however, view it a little less maliciously. I think that he has not done a lot of these things in a very malicious sense. I think he's done it out of his belief in in his pure ideology, which is a little bit head in the clouds. So it's more naivete. And I think that he, in his heart of hearts, believes that if you can communicate with someone enough, if you can try to understand who they are and what their needs are or what their wants, and you can sit down at a table and have these discussions, that you can walk away having solved many problems. And while that seems like a great idea, when all people want to do, I mean, it even sounds logical, but you're talking about dealing with a lot of leaders and a lot of groups that are not logical. They can't be rationalized with. They want to blow certain areas of the map and certain people, certain kinds of people off the face of the globe. So you can't just go about it in some sort of diplomatic, keep the lines of communication open way and think that it's going to all change for the better and ensure our safety.
Okay, first of all on that, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, I don't know if you remember the when Obama had Samantha Power abstain from voting on the latest UN resolution against Israel.
Correct, right.
Well, before she did it, this is one of her clips.
One need only look at the 18 resolutions against Israel adopted during the UN General Assembly in September, or the 12 Israel-specific resolutions adopted this year in the Human Rights Council, more than those focused on Syria, North Korea, Iran, and South Sudan put together, to see that in 2016, Israel continues to be treated differently from other member states.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If you look at all those other places, and yet the UN is focused on little old Israel, which is like 0.1% of the landmass of the entire world. She says that and then abstains. And I'm just sitting there with my head in my hand going, oh my gosh, how could she do that? In fact, I know host Kitty doesn't usually appear on this show, but he did actually have a pretty strong opinion about the fact that the U.S. abstained from that vote. I gotta agree with the cat.
It's downright hiss-worthy. It really is. And I think I want to be fairly clear. While I do think that Obama's agenda has been from some sort of academic ideological belief that he truly holds, which has kind of guided a lot of his presidency, I think that I'm not saying that the people around him have not necessarily acted maliciously and have not convinced him to do so in ways that are not, do not go along with what any of us would really like to see.
Okay, following up on that, this was another one of my favorite clips that happened right around that time frame. Secretary of State John Kerry.
Today there are a similar number of Jews and Palestinians living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. They have a choice. They can choose to live together in one state, or they can separate into two states. But here is a fundamental reality. If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both. And it won't ever really be at peace.
Really? I mean, come on, Secretary Kerry.
Yes, this is a kind of a crazy thing to say.
And for those of you hearing the unique background noises, Jen was caught in traffic, so the show must go on.
Yeah,
great show must go on spirit. She phoned in for the show. Yay, Jen!
Oh man, and I am now having car trouble, so that's great. That is so wonderful.
Oh joy!
But, yeah,
hey,
when it rains, it pours.
It pours, exactly. I mean, but that's not the only insanity that's going on around here. I mean, what about Trump?
It's not.
The unsubstantiated rumors of Trump and the fake news.
Oh my gosh, that whole thing. Shame on, just shame on everybody that decided to perpetuate this without any sort of actual verification. It's funny. It's what they claim to be so against, but yet they were so quick to do for Trump. It just doesn't make any sense. And it is shameful. It's just absolutely shameful.
And then they yell and scream when he goes on a rant, basically calling them out for their behavior.
He's not allowed to defend himself against any of it or be in any way, bothered by it. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but if someone puts out unsubstantiated rumor information and it comes from a news source, people will believe it, because a friend of mine, in fact, another host on this show earlier today, made this very point, because it's Dr. Judy L. Moore, host of Conversations in Science. We were discussing some of the climate change is the greatest threat to national security blaring headlines.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, putting that headline out is so irresponsible of journalists, because people in this day and age don't research a story the way they did 10 or 15 years ago. 10 or 15 years ago, they would stop and dig in and figure it out. Now the world lives in 140 character messages and 30-second sound bites.
Yep.
And when you say that climate, something like, you put out something about Russia's been, Trump's been talking to Russia, and it comes from a news agency, most people aren't going to dig in. In fact, your normal co-host, Rick, proved that very point. He retweeted an article with the headline, "We can elect Bernie Sanders president by doing one simple thing." Now, if you'd read the whole text of the article, it's like, no, we can't. Hello? But this article was put up with this headline just to see how many people would retweet it and not read the article. That thing had thousands of retweets and likes, Jen.
But that's what people do. They don't read anything for themselves. They see some sort of, a headline that has some preposterous thing in it, and then they go from there. That's what they rely on.
Well, there's one thing for sure, Jen. With citizenry like that, we'll never be out of a job because someone's got to explain it to them.
That's very, very true. Absolutely.
I mean, normally I'm playing connected dots on the international scale, but trust me, I can play connected dots on the U.S. scale. I usually have them connected. I just don't bring them up. So
yeah, absolutely.
I have to say, while I don't agree with everything candidate and President-elect Trump's ever done, I did like his rant on the fake news. Let's take a listen.
I think it's a disgrace that information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, it was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with. Your organization's terrible. Your organization's terrible. Let's go. Go ahead. Quiet. Quiet. Go ahead. She's asking a question. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
I mean, really, Jen, that was a CNN reporter going, give us a question, give us a question. And he's even talking about doing something that would really shake up the mainstream media, aka the make-believe media sometimes, taking away CNN's White House press credentials.
Well, here's what's really annoying about all of this, and you know that I'm not a fan of Trump, but I really hated the meltdown that came after this and everybody being like, this is the death of the freedom of the press and blah. The freedom of the press does not guarantee you the right, because of what your organization is and who you are, to demand that somebody answers your question. That's not what the freedom of the press is. It means that he can't shut you down from reporting about it when he does deny you to, ask him a question. So conflating, what it means, what freedom of the press actually means, is so incredibly disingenuous. It's intellectually dishonest, and they know it. But I'm no fan of Trump, but I did agree with him here. The guy kept shouting out after he said, no, wait your turn. He continued to shout. And being as CNN was one of the ones that ran with the dossier story as legit intel, then, you pushed him a button too far. And he's like, nope, fake news, sorry. And I'm not going to deal with you at all now. I kind of don't blame him. It was rude, and he's going about the room asking, taking questions from whoever. And there are plenty of times where people that have stood at podiums, such as his, and not taken every single question from every single organization. So, I can see why people get pissed off about it. I think that it's valid for them to be annoyed, but there's just a lot of, they just kind of gave him what he wants, I think, that kind of attention, his chance to be a little authoritarian, and it just got blown way out of proportion, and it's kind of their fault.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they put out something that was unsubstantiated and got taken as gospel by so many people. And how can you do that and call yourself a credible news agency? That's why, and I know you don't have time to listen to every show on KLRNRadio. Nobody does. But that's why I go for original sources, and I will dig until I have what I think is important, or if I can get an original source, I will. I won't just grab the first soundbite that comes along.
Yeah. I mean...
And that's important to me because I consider it integrity.
Well, absolutely. And it's also, you know, like how you're putting it there. I mean, I really liked the way that a couple people handled this, and they said whenever this, you know, thing came out, this hit on Trump came out, they were like, you know, we know what's being circulated. We do have some comments on it, but we're going to reserve until we hear a little bit more and there's some more verification about where this actually came from and what it's intended for. You know, what was it? Why are we even seeing it in the first place, kind of thing. And I respect saying, being honest about that like we don't really know. And so this is how we're going to handle it for right now. Whereas BuzzFeed just said, well, we think everybody should decide for themselves on something that is a lot of unnamed sources, just a lot of stuff that can't be verified. So that's just the difference to me in what is actual journalism and not.
Now, when it comes to unnamed sources, I'll take an unnamed source at the Pentagon discussing a military operation that they haven't been cleared to talk about before I'll take an unnamed source out of a foreign country.
Well, and that's the thing is like, it's not that there's no place for unnamed sources ever, but when you've got this thing that's happening and the kinds of things that are being accused on this dossier towards Trump and his people, then you better have at least some sort of evidence other than just X source or, you know, and now it's come out that one of the men involved who's supposed to be the one that was there and he's not, it's now shown that he was in our country at the time. So it couldn't have been him. I mean, there's just way too many holes in the story to run with it as like, oh, well, there's this and that. And then there's this one or two, anonymous sources that we're protecting. I get that, but that's not what happened here.
No offense. When it comes to presidents and their private behind what goes on behind closed doors between two consenting adults, I don't see why it's the media's business, because guess what? If he's willing to take the risk that it's going to come back to bite him in the 6 o'clock and he does it anyway, guess what? His business. It's only our problem if he actually gets blackmailed by it, which, if it's already out in the media, guess what? He can't be. Hello?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to cover every strange predilection that a president or president-elect has and take it as gospel that these things happen when we're taking the word of essentially foreign ladies of the night and things like that over credible news sources. So why is this news?
Well, the other thing is that this was actually circulated back in October and it didn't really get picked up because it had no traction. I mean, there were no legs for it to walk on. So, there are a lot of people that said, oh, this is new. This isn't really new. We saw this back then, but nothing could ever be verified. So we figured it was a lot of, just crap, basically. And so they didn't run with it until BuzzFeed got their hands on it and they decided to. So, we have to remember that there are a lot of people going, this isn't new information. This was seen before the election and nobody legitimate decided to do anything with it because it was so unverifiable. And like you said, are people really interested in that sort of thing? I mean, didn't that kind of fly out the window with Bill Clinton?
I think the horse has already left the barn on that one. And in relation to BuzzFeed, I saw a tweet the other day that just won Twitter for the day, for sure. It said, it had Rolling Stones, no one can ever surpass our low-life scum bottom-feeding journalism. BuzzFeed, hold my beer and watch this.
That's great. That's really great.
I mean, it was like, oh my gosh. Because after Rolling Stone did the whole rape story that was proven so unsubstantiated, nobody takes them seriously anymore. They're still fighting to get their reputation back. And now BuzzFeed is going the way of Rolling Stone. And CNN, because they tied their cart to BuzzFeed, I hate to say it, but guys, your reputation is circling the drain fast.
Yep, it really is. So I think, I think that this is a lesson. We saw what happened with Rolling Stone, but luckily for them, their whole niche is not hinged upon like very much of actual reporting. That their niche is dependent upon interviews and things of that nature. That it didn't really kill them necessarily. I mean, they're still having to fight for some credibility, but that's not their whole point. And BuzzFeed, they do the listicles, they do the fun stuff online, but they've positioned themselves, or they've tried to, as also a serious news source. So I think that this really hurts them and should be a lesson to a lot of these online, especially online publications, that just to get your name out there and to get the clicks and to try to get ahead of the game isn't always the best idea.
Exactly. I mean, there's a time and place for it, but okay, don't try and be the breaking news journalist. Get your facts. Do your research. I personally have held off a day or two in presenting a story until I could do the right research on it.
Yep, which is the responsible thing to do.
All right, Jen, we have just about blown through a commercial break. You know that? We've been on the air. I know we started a couple minutes late, but it's time to go pay those bills.
Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at rahardin.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell. I don't have time to go.
Jen, it has been one of those days for you. You've been through a lot today. Now, I think we've covered enough fake news without sources. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. It's time to move right on along.
All right, so we've got some real news with some real sources, and I'm discussing the confirmation hearings today. Like I said, something that's actually news. Now,
yes.
The biggest thing with Mad Dog, everybody's worried about, oh no, he's going to have a problem with the LGBT community or LGBTQ community, whatever they're called this week. Whatever that string of acronyms is, Jen?
Yes.
And
the LGBTQ and then apparently LMNOP,
Exactly. Exactly. I can never keep up with that list of acronyms, so yeah, them. So I've got his take, and remember, General Mattis was under oath at a confirmation hearing when he said this.
Do you believe that allowing LGBT Americans to serve in the military or women in combat is undermining our lethality?
Frankly, Senator, I've never cared much about 2 consenting adults and who they go to bed with.
I think that says it all right there, but I love his follow-up.
So the answer is no?
Senator, my concern is on the readiness of the force to fight and to make certain that it's at the top of its game, so when we go up against an enemy, the criteria for everything we do in the military up until that point, when we put our young men and women across the line of departure, is they will be at their most lethal stance. That's my obligation as I move into this job.
So
that's how I...
You cut him off, but that was the best answer I've ever heard.
Well, I think, what he said is true. I think a lot of people feel this way, military or not. I don't really care what you're doing, in your own home, in your own bedroom. That's your business. What I care about, which is what is my business, is what you're doing on the job, how prepared you are. And, if you meet all of the qualifications and pass all the tests and all of that kind of thing. So I think they were trying to trip him up. I think they were hoping to, kind of catch him in a gotcha, and he handled it perfectly. It was just really great.
Okay. I know you don't keep up with the mill news quite as much as I do. The Marines went through all this, and I've talked to men from Special Forces on down to the private who just got into the Army last week. We're talking Special Forces operators, your apex predators who go after the bad guys, bar none. And then your private who just got out of boot camp, okay? I've talked to them all. And do you know what they all say about women in combat? As long as they can do the job and they can carry their weight and, if need be, a buddy's, I don't care what gender they are. They could be 3 heads and purple.
Right. That's the thing. Like I said, as long as they can, meet all the qualifications, as long as they can do the job at hand, then that's what matters. And we shouldn't be looking at race, gender, sexual preference, any of that when it comes to that. We should be looking at here's the skill set. Here are the certain, tests you have to pass in order for us to ascertain that you are viable to perform this job at the best ability. And whoever passes it, passes it. That's what it should be.
I also don't think this, but they all had one caveat. the standards should not be lowered just so that women can meet them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That endangers everybody, including the women meeting them.
Exactly. I mean, I don't remember the name of the movie, but there was a movie where they had a female trying out to be a SEAL. And they were trying to give her advantages and give her breaks and this, that, and the other. She said, nope, not going to do it. And she took the hard road. And it wasn't until she started doing that the men in the movie started respecting her.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that people have had reservations about all along for a lot of different things. And it's just, can you face the challenges and overcome them? And if you can, to the same, and you have the same ability that the man next to you does, then more power to you. If you don't, we're not going to say, well, cut her some slack because she's a girl.
Exactly.
I mean, isn't that what feminists fight against anyways? Like, don't cut me any slack. That's what they originally did. Now, these new waves of feminism want equality the same way that some people want it for minorities. They don't really want equality. They just want, kind of retributions, and they want kickbacks, and they want cutbacks and everything to make it so that it's in the name of fair, which is really totally unfair, that they can get the same things that someone else can by doing it organically.
I mean, that is so right. I mean, now, granted, when way back, and I'm going way back in this one, Jessica Lynch. Remember when she was in a convoy ambushed by Iraqi forces? We did the same exact thing for her that we would have done for a man in that situation. We went in and got her out.
Yep. Right.
I mean, that's fact. Now, the details around her getting caught up in this mess and everything, should she have been on the job, that's a debate for another day, but she evidently had the training and passed the qualifications. Right. However, her weapon jammed. Now, there's a lot of reasons weapons jammed over there.
Right.
And I'm going to tell a little tale here, and it's not a very long one. One of the reasons weapons jam in the sandbox, any of our land of never-ending desert territories where men and women find themselves frequently, the oil that the United States military provides to our men and women to use on their weapons attracts it. There are better products out there that don't do that. Bingo, weapons jam. Here's why.
Interesting. You obviously know more about that kind of thing than I do, but
when you're surrounded by guys that shoot for a living, you kind of pick up a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah, definitely.
But back to the hearing. Mattis had one other thing that I thought was just absolutely incredibly worthwhile.
As we are all aware, that following World War II, a world order was established, which has held for basically the last 70 years. Do you believe that world order is now under more strain than it's ever been?
I think it's under the biggest attack since World War II, sir, and that's from Russia, from terrorist groups, and with what China is doing in the South China Sea.
All right, if that wasn't clear enough and succinct enough, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely a good answer, and I think that it made a lot of people's ears perk up that he used Russia as an example.
Russia, China, and terrorism. And unlike Obama, who uses the wonderful headline, "Climate change is our #1 national security threat," I'm inclined to say these are more likely their top 3 actual security threats. Now, I will give a caveat to that climate change statement. Climate change can exacerbate any of the above any of our actual security threat issues, okay? Climate, weather, all that plays a factor.
Right.
But it's not in and of itself. It's not the biggest issue.
Well, right. I was glad that he put those names out there, especially with all the talk of Obama's, oh my goodness, with Trump's ties to Russia and possible links, and whether he allowed them to interfere or even encouraged them to interfere in the election and whatnot. I thought it was great that he ticked them off as one of the threats that he saw. And of course, the mentioning terrorism, I think. There are a lot of people that still kind of want to pretend that that's like someone else's problem. They ignore some of the attacks that have happened here because they like to restructure them as gun control problems versus terror problems. And so I think it was good for him to put that right up front, right on the table.
I couldn't agree more. And if you're willing to play ball with me for a second, Jen, sorry, I'm trying to finish my dinner because this is my second out of three shows I'm involved with tonight. I have what I think is the right audio clip queued up.
Busted, 19,200.
Oh, that's about Twitter. Hang on, let me see if I've got the right one over here.
And the fact that you used the word...
Okay. Never mind, I don't have it. But the short version, the Trump's pick for CIA director was specifically point-blank asked in a hearing if information about Trump working with the Russians to undermine the U.S. elections becomes substantiated and serious, will you bring that forward? And Pompeo, his pick, said yes. It's not the CIA's job to investigate it. We'd take it to the FBI, who would then, of course, bring it to Congress. And not one, all of Trump's picks have been we will uphold the laws passed by Congress. Now, there's something interesting about that statement, Jen. Do you know what I think it is?
Do tell.
What did our outgoing president do a lot of? Did he get all his laws passed by Congress?
Nope, it was a lot of executive order and action. I think that
make law from the White House. And the fact that every single nominee has said laws passed by Congress, and of course, regular order. Regular order means, taking into account things like judicial opinions and whatnot. But the fact that every nominee whose hearing I've listened in on has said, I will support and go with the laws passed by Congress. And I could make a mashup of all of them saying this.
Well, I thought it was interesting that, yes, so his nominees have pretty much, at least on the surface, spoken as if, they are there to do the job they're there to do, not to push some agenda, not to try to go outside their duties and reform things that are not within their power to reform, which is part of what the Obama administration was pretty notorious for all across the board. So that's a positive to me. That's something that I hope holds true, because that's the position that's what they should do in their positions. But I think that it is also interesting to me that so many of the Democratic members of Congress who have been commenting on, not necessarily the ones interviewing them, but have been commenting on this. They've been going on various TV, cable news programs. They've been talking to reporters. They've been tweeting, are saying things like, with an authoritarian Trump at the helm, Congress is going to have to be a check on the executive. Hello? Specifically, Elijah Cummings spelled it out just as plain as day, and he said it multiple times. Hello? That's the point of Congress. Yes, that is your job. You've refused to do it for 8 years because you're a partisan hack. So I'm sorry if I'm not just rolling over and patting you on the back for your sudden willingness to uphold the Constitution and do the job that Congress is appointed to do by the people. I'm just not going to, applaud you for that because you've just finally realized what you should have been doing all along, regardless of the president's party.
Well, I think I've got one of the best examples of this. And I don't know how many people actually caught this, but I'm going to play an audio clip with Charles Bowden. He's an administrator for NASA. Now, what do you think their core mission should be, Jen?
What do you mean?
What should NASA's core job be? What should their goal be?
Oh, you mean dealing with actual space exploration?
Okay, well, let's take a listen to this clip.
The administrator of NASA, Charles Bolden. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for allowing me to be here. It's exciting for me to be here.
Well, it's fantastic having you on.
Now, caveat, this interview was with Al Jazeera.
Talk to Al Jazeera. I know it's very rude to ask this of a guest, but my first question to you is, why are you here in the region?
Oh, I appreciate you asking the question. I'm here in the region. It's sort of the first anniversary of President Barack Obama's visit to Cairo and his speech there when he gave what has now become known as Obama's Cairo Initiative, where he announced that he really wanted this to be a new beginning of the relationship between the United States and the Muslim world. When I became the NASA administrator, or before I became the NASA administrator, he charged me with 3 things. One was he wanted me to help re-inspire children to want to get into science and math. He wanted me to expand our international relationships. And third, and perhaps foremost, he wanted me to find a way to reach out to the Muslim world and engage much more with dominantly Muslim nations to help them feel good about their historic contribution to science and engineering, science and math.
Okay, Jen. Really?
Yeah, that sounds like not on the radar of NASA. Like, what?
Exactly. Hello. Why is it NASA's job to reach out? Why are we asking our space agency, who's focused on Mars, last I heard, or Juno or Pluto or some, way out there? Why are they the ones sent to go running around the globe and working with Muslim nations? Hello? Does this make any sense in the... Oh. All right, back to real news. Now, I want to go back to Pompeo so we can get back to the hearings. Right, Jen?
Yes.
There's been... hey, I told you I had some doozies, didn't I?
No, I know, definitely.
And remember, my sound clips, I sometimes pull things and keep them stashed away. You never know when I'll pull them. All right. This was Dianne Feinstein talking to the CIA director, candidate Pompeo.
I want to ask one follow-up question to what the chairman asked, and that's dealing with those enhanced interrogation techniques. And that is that if you were ordered by the president to restart the CIA's use of enhanced interrogation techniques that fall outside of the Army Field Manual, would you comply?
Senator, absolutely not. Moreover, I can't imagine that I would be asked that by the president-elect or then president. But I'm very clear. I voted for the change that put the Army Field Manual in place as a member of Congress. I understand that law very, very quickly and am also deeply aware that any changes to that will come through Congress and the President.
And regular order.
And regular order, yes, ma'am, absolutely. With respect to the outlines of what's in the Army Field Manual, there's no doubt in my mind about the limitations it places not only on the DoD but on the Central Intelligence Agency, and I'll always comply with the law. Another
question. How will you handle the President-elect's refutation of the intelligence community's high... I want to ask...
Sorry, Jen, the soundbite was trying to run away with me.
That's okay. I really liked how, again, I think this is pretty par for the course for confirmation hearings, but it's a little bit of gotcha scenarios like, will you or won't you do this because you've da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it's pretty expected, but I like how he's like, are you kidding? Absolutely not. And also, I don't expect anybody to put me in that position. So the answer was pretty upfront and very straightforward. There's no mistaking what he meant or ways in which you can really twist it.
I think not being able to twist someone's answers is a sign of a good hearing.
Absolutely. I mean, that is what they look for, and that's what cable news looks for, is things that they can pull a soundbite and say, see, they said, because they only pull a piece of it and completely out of context. When you give answers like he did there and like Mattis did on the subject of homosexuality in the Army, I think that you just very blunt, very succinct, and very to the point. That it leaves them with less fodder.
All right, we're down to about the last 10 minutes. Do you want to discuss what happened at the Golden Globes?
Sure.
Yeah, we got to get a little bit of pop culture in here, don't we?
Sure, why not? It's always fun.
But there was one performance this year that stunned me. It sank its hooks in my heart. Not because it was good. There was nothing good about it. But it was effective and it did its job. It made its intended audience laugh and show their teeth. It was that moment when the person asking to sit in the most respected seat in our country imitated a disabled reporter, someone he outranked in privilege, power, and the capacity to fight back. It kind of broke my heart when I saw it, and I still can't get it out of my head because it wasn't in a movie. It was real life.
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to say, and people that listen to the show know, I was also appalled at the way that he did that mocking. And, all the explanations in the world aren't any excuse to me. I think he fully knew what he was doing. But this chance to grandstand and, speak out against Trump at the Golden Globes by Streep, everything that, listen to the words people have used to describe it: courageous, brave, it took a lot of guts, heroic. I am sorry. I think it is absolutely insulting. It is not heroic, courageous, or brave to stand in a room full of your peers that agree with you on pretty much everything and speak your mind. And especially not in the audience of the person that you're ranting and raving against. So I just didn't see any of it as brave or courageous or heroic, because I'm so sick of them using that term to describe, extremely privileged Hollywood actors. But it was just eye roll. It's expected. This is what they do now. And I said in a kind of a rant on Twitter, it's not that celebrities aren't allowed to have an opinion. They are. It's just that, people don't always want to be lectured with their entertainment. And I think they have a reasonable expectation to be able to tune into some of these shows and to go to the movies and things and not be beat over the head with why their politics are wrong and Hollywood's is right. And to be completely demeaned by those that they are paying to see. So, they can have their opinion. They just don't always need to put it out there when they've got a captive audience like this, and people are impressionable, and it's just getting so old, basically.
Jen, in short, it was the wrong time wrong place.
Absolutely. Meryl Streep is fully entitled to her opinion, but that
you want to come out with a political opinion? Go on a reputable news show. Get on the Today Show. Go on CNN or MSNBC.
Sure.
If you can call them reputable.
Whatever you want to do. That's just fine with me.
But in my mind and my heart, the heroes aren't the men and women in Hollywood, Jen. They're the men and women who wear a uniform, whether they be fire, police, paramedics, or military.
Well,
Those
and
are the heroes.
and I think that's so true. I also think that there are other ways in life that people can be heroic. I don't think that being a beloved actress, standing on a stage in front of like-minded people, saying something they all agree with is one of them. I think that taking in a family that isn't yours can be heroic. I think that, risking all to save the stranger you don't know who just got in a car accident is heroic. I think that obviously all of our servicemen and women, I think that there are any number of ways that can, kind of come under the definition, the umbrella of heroism.
Exactly.
And this is just not one of them. It's not even close. It's not even on the same chart.
It's not. Well, Jen, I got one more clip for you.
Okay.
It is over.
It's time for us to be getting out of here because guess what? America Off the Rails is up next. Now, Dan from Robinson and Wright and Constitution and Culture is doing that show next.
Awesome.
All right, so just as a reminder, Jen, when you're not hanging out on the air with me or Rick, where can people find you?
Well, come find me on Twitter at @JHolmstead. I'm always riling stuff up. J.R. Homestead on Facebook, and check out a group I run a site and blog and soon-to-be radio with called MisfitPolitics.com.
All right, and just as a reminder, because I didn't do it on my own show, you can follow me at Jesse's POV on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook, Jesse's POV. And if you're really wanting to reach out and grab me, I even have a website, jessespov.com. And just for that little tidbit of information I didn't get earlier, the guy I'm always giving shout-outs to, Scott Harvath, is on Twitter at SCOTTHARVATH. Please don't troll the man. Be nice to him. He is a retired NYPD sergeant who is a 9/11 first responder battling stage 4 esophageal cancer. All right, Jen. I think we're out of here.
All right. All righty. Thanks for coming on with me and keeping me company while Rick's under the weather.
No problem, Jen.
I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.